What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, YouTube family? You're tuning into the Vulcan Soapbox. What's going on? Thank you for joining us. Uh, this is a platform where we harness the power of logic and reason at the highest level. My name is Enos, and I'm with my guy Vulcan. Talk to us, man.
What's going on, everybody? I'm excited to get into the topic today. We ask that you like and subscribe and you share. This show is about helping people to arm themselves with reason.
Yes, sir.
We have to understand how to separate the sophistry and the rhetoric from sound argumentation, good points. This is not just an issue of intellect. It's not just an issue of being book smart, whatever you want to say. This is also an issue of integrity. Not playing with people, not taking advantage of people just because you have eloquence of words and you know something, you look something up. So that's what this show is about. We're excited to get into it, everybody. We thank everybody who tunes into the show and sends comments in and helps us with subjects and all the different things people do to help us in the show. So we're ready to dive into it, talking about Yada and his debate with Anton. We had a good time. This is part 2 of the show, so I'm excited for it. And I want everybody to tune in and also everybody to help support by sending in comments, asking questions, and we're going to get into it.
All right, good stuff. Let's go.
He wanted to talk to y'all,
Check TikTok.
and I told him to look me in the eye, and he kept looking at y'all. But now that I'm speaking to his soul, right? I'm talking to his soul.
The devil is devilish.
We get into the core of who he is, because you interrupted me now. See, you didn't want to talk to me. You wanted to talk to them.
I love you, man. What's going on, man?
You didn't want to talk. No, hold on. Wait.
Can you look that up so we can get the specifics on that? Can you look it up? Can you find that?
He didn't want to talk to me. He wanted to talk to y'all.
Check TikTok.
And I told him to look me in the eye, and he kept looking at y'all. But now that I'm speaking to his soul, right? I'm talking to his soul.
The devil is devilish.
We get into the core of who he is, because you can't say one thing and then mean something else. Let me add the rest of the context of what he said. He then was telling them to charge money like prostitutes.
Play the clip, please.
He told them to charge. He told them to charge $50,000.
The remix.
Nope.
The remix.
Did you say charge money? Yes or no?
Remix.
Yes or no? Did you say
the
charge?
Remix.
Wait, it's a simple question. Yes or no? Did you say charge 50,000?
Charge him 50,000 for what, brother?
Did you say charge 50,000
for what? You're going out. Add it together. You're breaking out.
You can
bits
add
and pieces,
whatever. No,
bits
you
and
can
pieces.
add whatever context
So
that
what
you want.
what I teach, coming from my background.
I seen Kamala Harris do this on Fox News the other day.
Hold on. All my brothers have paid for their wives. It's our tradition, it's our culture, and it's our religion. We all paid for our wives. I know that's unfamiliar to him, but it does not make it wrong. And any woman that believes that they shouldn't get paid for a man to show you that they're able to take care of you is foolish, especially in this day and age. And if women follow this, there'll be less women with children without men, because men would have to step up. Men love more what they have to invest in. Allow this man to invest into you.
Speak clearly.
Period. I love it.
On his words.
Love it.
Angela Yee then said, that's like prostitution.
What? Bro, what you're remixing it. She never said that.
Listen,
bro. Play the clip, please.
Remix
King.
We gotta find out. I'm trying to find it right now.
It's a long.
You got it.
Go ahead.
Okay. You can't do that.
Listen, let me speak.
All praises.
Here's the fact of the matter is, first he agreed with me and said that I don't agree with that people should be dating.
Yes.
Then he admitted and he acted like he was just adding context to the woman that was saying that she was coming out of her whole phase.
Right. So I'm wondering, is it good to go ahead and just play the clip again so they're still talking about it? I'm assuming that's where we kind of ended last time. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you want to go ahead and play that clip again?
Yeah, I could play it. I'm gonna rewind it and then I'll pull the clip up.
We don't have to. I guess we could. We could play it again for the audience, or I guess if they're watching in part one, they'll see it in part one. I don't know. If
Yeah. So you want to move on and just?
Yeah, we'll just move on. I'll go ahead and.
I'll have to search for that clip.
Yeah. So
Angela Yee then said, "That's like that." She put it in, and not date. When y'all go and replay this, because this is recorded, y'all gonna be able to go back and look at it.
Please play it.
And
now.
when everybody review this video, when y'all review this video, when you compare it and contrast, right? Then you tell me who's actually telling the truth. Because again, I don't have to make it up. It's all right there. He can try to save face. Right.
So you about to play it or what?
Yeah, I found the timestamp. We'll go ahead and play it right now.
Okay.
Come on, rotation. Yeah, just to like live that life for a little bit, like a solid roster. Just because I've never done that.
When you say coming out of your celebrity, are you out of it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then I got ghosted, so that's a whole other story.
Mm.
But I'm like, you know what? I want to have like a little Tuesday, a little Wednesday, a little Saturday.
Right.
I love that for
Rotation.
you. But she
Right.
knows what
Keep
she
it
wants.
cute.
So what do you think
Right.
about that?
I say date them all, and let the richest
But
man
where
that loves
are
you the most
they?
win.
And so what do I do? Like, I don't even know where to. A, I don't know where to find them.
Mhm.
B, I don't know what to say. I'm so out of the game.
It's so hard to tell if somebody has money too or not.
You know what I'll tell you. Date them all, but keep your vagina to yourself.
Okay.
That's not what she wants.
Yeah,
though.
But no.
But
Listen to what I'm saying to you. Date them all, but keep your vagina to yourself, because the one that's just playing with you, he's not gonna last. He's gonna show, because he's gonna move you on to the next one.
Okay.
Because you're pretty, so a lot of men will try to get you to sleep with you.
So how long do I have to do that before I can actually get, just
Because clearly she wants some physical attention.
Now, what if you would be like, you want to sleep with me? $50,000.
Facts.
Because that's advice you would give, right?
Hey, no, listen.
Wow.
What would that conversation look like? Like, what would that conversation look like? Like, he asked me to dinner and then what?
It's funny. No, because I tell my sisters this. If a dude wants to date you, 50,000,
Uh-huh.
50,000 off
Like in
top.
cash or
50 no, if they can't
50,000.
afford a payment plan, 50,000.
okay.
And if they don't have it, you're dating in the wrong pool.
So let's run a scenario, right?
Let's get it.
Let's say I'm at a bar.
Okay.
A man approaches me
Right.
and he's like, I'd like to take you out to dinner.
Mhm.
What am I? I'm just like, okay, that's 50,000.
Of course.
Just like that.
See, I don't know
50,000.
if this is gonna work.
Look,
not gonna work.
listen. In America, women been programmed a certain way. In these other countries, it's the norm.
Okay.
It's normal. Here, and then it's crazy because you have men that's willing to take care of you.
So you got to go to like Sweden or the
Right, like, where am I
Netherlands, or-
going? I was
You
just
gotta
in
go to
Europe and I
Europe
didn't
somewhere.
find
But I also feel
Damn.
like men are terrified of being used also.
You know who's
Because-
terrified of being used? The ones that ain't got it.
There we go.
But listen, I'm
That's
not,
the ones that's
that's
always
real.
saying
If
you
a
want me for
man-
the
I
money.
wouldn't advise
The
a
money that
man
they
who
ain't got.
wants
listen, but if a man can go to a strip club and blow 10 to 20,000 in a
Mhm.
few hours,
Mhm.
and you about to sleep with him, cook for him, iron his clothes, maybe clean his house, that's not worthy of you getting paid.
But most guys I know aren't going to spend $10,000 and $20,000 in a strip club.
Mm.
And if he is, I don't know that I want to be with somebody, because I would be like, "What are you doing?" I know, Gigi. I mean, I've been there. Nice that that's happened. I've been there, and it's happened. But like, if I'm dating a guy and he spends $20,000 in the strip club, I don't think I want that either. Like, I feel like that's not financial. $5,000, okay. Sorry, Gigi. I'm just being honest.
Listen,
It's
I'm
not
13. I'm
fiscally
13 years
responsible.
removed from the game,
Yeah.
so
Right,
you know
right,
I don't.
right.
Take
I don't want to
personal.
hate on the strippers and hate
But-
on y'all game,
Right.
but I'm just saying that I feel like for me, that's not like fiscally responsible. That's like,
But what is it? My thing is,
marketing.
what's your
write-off.
value? What is your value? A heartache and some dingling? Like, what's the value?
Mhm.
No, I think I have a hard time because I feel like my standards are almost too high.
What's your
No,
standard?
your standards
which
should never be
means
too high.
I just don't know where to find them. That's my thing. Like, where are they at? Because
Okay,
I
but
can activate all of this. I
Right,
just
right.
need to be in the right place.
right.
where are y'all at?
You need to
Where
go.
are y'all at?
You need to go where the grown men play at. The grown men are playing in places that these average men don't be at.
Mhm.
So
The
is that like a
vacation-
hotel bar?
No,
Like
no,
what's
no,
that?
no,
No, that's-
Like, where are they at?
Men with money they're not in places where the
Mhm.
average guy is at.
So F1
Now-
prefix.
No. Now you need to travel. You got a
Miami.
passport?
Yeah.
Of course.
So we got
You just got that type of friend.
so we got to
You
start.
ain't find nobody there, girl.
One. How with the yachts? How with the yachts? I'm like, what is going on? This is the place to be. No, not a one.
Yeah.
Man, listen. I'm gonna tell you some things, right? And this is between us, right? All right. This is
And
just
everybody
between,
listening.
Right.
between us.
This stays in this room.
Right, just in this room, right? In these cameras, right? If you truly want a man to provide your every need, I'm not just talking about financially, I'm talking about mentally, physically, spiritually, love,
Emotionally.
everything that comes with you. You have to know your value because a man will treat you as you come.
Yes.
So if you're saying, "Oh, I don't have to do nothing for you, and I can knock you down every night," that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna get the chick that's playing hard to get, that's giving me a hard time and expecting all this. I'm wifing her, but I'm just knocking you down. I'm having fun with you. So if you really want a man to really change your world, you have to know what you deserve and don't settle for nothing else.
So no
Yes.
3 hoes.
It's giving know your worth
Date
and
them,
add
date them
taxes.
all. Date them all.
Shipping and
And may the
handling,
fair one
processing
win.
fees.
Because some
I like
people
that.
would say,
All right, you want to touch on that, Vulcan?
Well, there's a lot to cover in this, right? and we played it last time, so I covered a lot before. I don't want to say a lot of the same things that I said before. I've just been taking notes. It's just so much, man. He doesn't really address anything anyway. So no matter how much he says, he's never on topic. Never on topic. Angela Yee had more sense than he had. Not only did Angela Yee have more sense, the lady kept asking, like, where do I find these guys? He kept saying, they're not going to be where average guys are. They're not going to be where average guys are. He never said where they're going to be. Because they only exist in his mind, this fanciful land of yada, where he can yada, 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 and everybody thinks it makes perfect sense. That's the issue. That's the primary issue with this guy. I don't know who he is. I don't know what his beliefs are. He talks about his culture, where he comes from, and whatever it is. I don't know what that is. But the reality is, wherever he comes from, his culture does not believe in being on topic. They do not believe in saying things that are meaningful. To use the scriptures, having an apt word, A-P-T, an apt word. That's what he doesn't have. I think you put that on the screen what an apt word was last time, right? We're told that wise people of wisdom, have apt words. His words are never apt. So I'm going on the list of what I wrote down here. Charge money, $50K to go on a date. Some of this stuff is so extreme, it's like you do really want to cover it, right? It's like but part of this show, an audience, when you hear this, is to teach people how to think critically. It's not just about dismissing a guy going, oh, this guy sounds crazy, let's just dismiss him. Because there are people who believe what he's saying. Matter of fact, when you play the end of their debate that they had, this is a much truncated version of it, so we can cover it all in a show or two. But it's the 2 hours and like 40-minute debate. And at the end of the show, the ladies that called in agreed with Yada unanimously. So I want them to realize, and I want everybody to realize, that you can't just go with what sounds good to your ear. You got to go what actually makes sense. So I'm going to start with the charging money, the $50K to go on a date. And I said this last show. If you were a financial advisor and you had a client, we'll say the average person, like I said, between the average black man making about 40-something thousand, the average white man 50-something thousand, the average Asian man 60-something thousand. We'll just say 75,000, which is more. If they had a financial advisor, and this is a single man is making 75,000, have his affairs in order financially, would that financial advisor, be it a woman or a man, tell them to give somebody $50K to go on a date? It's absurd. Anytime you're listening to people speak, when they're speaking, there's going to be intersections in their monologue where they're touching on different disciplines, different sciences, whether it's economics, whether it's biology, chemistry, theology. You have to hold them to the standards of that particular discipline. So when he's saying $50K, you got to think, financial literacy, For those of you who are Dave Ramseyites, that would be ludicrous. Dave Ramsey slap you upside your head. You was giving somebody $50K to go on a date. So we got to understand that what he's saying doesn't make sense in the financial sphere. What people will tend to do is they'll go, I like what I'm hearing when it comes to dating, and so I like that idea. But you got to put your financial hat on. It could be your son. It could be your brother. It could be your dad. You think they should be getting $50K just to go on a date with a lady. Now, he's saying in this culture, he don't even believe in dating. That's where, again, his words get all mixed up and he's all over the place. He doesn't even believe in dating. So he's talking about paying somebody $50K. He's talking about some kind of dowry for somebody you're paying to somebody to take on a wife, whether it's to her or to her family. That's an entirely different conversation. That's not what he told that lady on the couch with him on the Angela Yee show. That's not a dowry. That's for a date. I mentioned last show, they've already done studies that 33% of women have admitted that they go on dates just for the free food. There's articles come out of ladies going on 6 dates a week just to save money on the grocery bill. This actually happens on a regular basis. And that's the issue with self-proclaimed gurus like this. Not that I'm saying that I'm a guru, but one thing, if I'm entertaining ideas from anybody, I'm going to go and check the different disciplines that they're intersecting with. Okay, he just said something about how the human body works. I'm listening to a guy talk about, people don't need to eat meat because gorillas are strong and they don't eat meat. Then you find out gorillas have a certain bacteria in their body that helps them break down certain vegetation so they can get more nutrients out of it than I'd be able to get if I ate that same type of vegetation. Now, if I just listen to this guru speak about health and being vegan and being a carnivore and all this other kind of stuff and use animal references, that sounds good. Look how big the gorilla is. Look how strong he is. But then I have to go and consult the nutritionist, consult the biologist, the chemist. How is this stuff being broken down in the body? Then I realize, you know what? That guy does not know what he's talking about when it comes to how the human body works, at least on that particular thing. So going back to this guy, Yada, the 50K doesn't make any sense. I think I mentioned it last time. Only about 5%, 8% max of people in the U.S. have that kind of money in their bank account anyway. Most people don't have $1,000 in their savings account, according to statistics. So you're isolating. So you're telling this lady, it's already tough for Black women as it is to get married. Black women get married the least. They divorce the most. They get married the oldest age. And it doesn't last very long. So they already have it tough. They're the least likely woman group to get married. And they're already the pickiest, statistically speaking, the pickiest. I'm not saying you out there listening to me, Black women, ever listen, say I'm saying you're the pickiest. I'm saying statistically, they do the studies. They know what you click on in these date apps. They know what you click on when you're going to Google. They've done the studies on these things. African American women specifically, not Nigerian women, I'm talking about African American women, are the pickiest, especially when it comes to physical appearance. So you already have all that against you. You already have this massive, extensive criteria for you to find somebody that you actually would like. And then you have most difficult time in relationships. He wants to add on there even more of a greater burden to carry, which is he's got to be able to give you this kind of money before you date him. Does that sound like advice from a man that has your best interest at heart? I've mentioned this before. A rebuking tongue will receive more honor than a flattering tongue. Open rebuke is better than hidden love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. People that care about you are going to tell you things you don't want to hear for your benefit. People that want to get something from you, make money off of you, gain your support, will flatter you. They will say things that boost your ego up. And it's going to be completely disjointed from any type of real metrics. When we've all learned about SMART goals, or most of us have learned about, especially in the world of business and sales and places where we have high performers. SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. What's realistic about what he's saying? What's attainable about what he's saying? What's specific in what he's saying? So again, that's the problem we're going to run into what he's saying on the 50K. It makes no sense just to date somebody. we pay for our wives. He said in his culture they pay for their wives. Fine. And even tells Anton, he says, you can't say it's wrong. This is what we do in our culture. You can't say that's wrong. But then the next sentence he goes, and any woman who doesn't think that this is right is foolish or something like that, he says. So you just say it's your culture to pay for your women or whatever the case may be. And then you said it's not wrong. You can't say that it's wrong. And then says anybody who doesn't believe like him, the next sentence is foolish. How does that fit? So if we agree with you, it's okay. If we disagree with you, then we're wrong. Because we're attacking your culture and your tradition. Contradictory. He says that if women did this, there'll be less women with kids with no fathers. Maybe. That might be true. But what percentage of the population can actually do that? What percentage of the population, we're talking about specifically in the black community, which is like, 60 million people tops, not that many. We'll say half as women, half as men. Black men, as of now, get married at a higher rate than black women. Black men are dating more outside of their race than other men are, statistically speaking. So black women have a lot more competition for the desirable guys that they want. You already have a difficult task ahead of you. Why add more to it by saying, even though the white ladies and the Indian ladies and the Asian ladies and Middle Eastern ladies aren't asking for $50K to marry them, I'm going to ask that. But I'm already the last one to get married and the first one to divorce and have the shortest marriages. This guy is not for you. He is not your friend. This is a classic example of Satan coming of an angel of light. That's the reality of it. Classic example of that. He mentions, Angela Yee says a lot of guys are terrified of being used, and the lady goes, "That's the men who don't got it that are terrified of being used." Another problem with this is, one is, and this is part of the issue in a lot of these conversations, a lot of us don't have the most extensive vocabulary. So we're saying terrified. You don't have to be terrified. It's not an issue of being terrified of being used. Nobody wants to be used, least of all men. One thing is you can look at it in psychology and sociology is like agreeableness. I mentioned this in the last show. People that are more successful, people that accomplish a lot and are very driven, they tend to want to fight for what they believe is right. They always want to make sure they're getting a good deal. They're always about the negotiation. That's why ladies, a lot of times when they go into corporate, the lawyers, whatever they're doing, they take assertiveness training so that they can negotiate better, so they can get high promotion, so they can become a partner at their firm. They do these things because women generally are more agreeable than men are. Men are typically less agreeable, especially men who are very competent, men who are very driven, ambitious men. So these ladies are trying to be in the pool of men who are more driven and ambitious. You really think you're gonna be able to negotiate these kind of deals with these guys? These guys are not the kind of guys that lose negotiations. They're the kind of guys who win negotiations. So you're gonna go to this guy and tell him, you got to do this in order to date me. When there's a bunch of women out there that he can date that don't require any of that stuff. You're providing zero value for this man up front. It already is when a woman and man dates. Let's look at the facts of it. A man starts with his value up front. He's paying for the dates. He's initiating. He's spending his time and energy initiating. He's spending his time and money investing into this and to get to know this person. This is a stranger. I'm not talking about your girlfriend. I'm talking about your wife. I'm not talking about your fiance. I'm talking about a stranger. You met online. You met in person. The man up front spends money in that interaction just to get to know that person. The lady hasn't had to do anything yet. So you're saying on top of that, he's already having to spend money to know you. You're gonna up the ante. You know, you spent $200-300 on this endeavor today, spending time together today. I'm going to be more closer to $50K. If you can't do it all right now, that's fine. We're doing a payment plan. Is this a solution for Black love? Does this guy have our best interest in heart? Definitely doesn't. So it's not about being terrified. It's more about good financial planning. It's more about somebody who's going to do what's reasonable. Is this what their moms would advise them do? Spend money on a random lady? 50K at that? So that's already part of the problem. What we do is we want to demonize anybody who has a different opinion than us. So, the men are terrified. It's not terrified. And I know Angela Yee didn't probably mean it in a negative way when she said men are terrified to be taken advantage of. Just good sense is you don't want to be taken advantage of. Heck, women wouldn't respect a man who was being taken advantage of. That's partly somewhat akin to what Angela Yee was saying when she was dealing with a guy who's spending that much money at the strip club. She wouldn't find that as attractive, and most women wouldn't find that as attractive. Why are you spending that money at the strip club? There's so much more you could be doing with that money for yourself and for others. So, and we're not here to tell people what to do with their money, but I'm just talking about Angela Yee's point when it comes to how a man's handling his money at the strip club. So to say it's terrified, she didn't mean anything bad by it, but it's not being terrified. It's just good sense. If you had a homeboy that wasn't a multi-millionaire and he's spending that kind of money in the strip club, you'd be like, hey, dude, you okay? You got going through something? You having troubles at home? What's up? Same thing. So when it comes to that part right there, it's not about being terrified. It's having good sense. And then the lady tried to demonize anybody that would have good sense by saying it's the men who are not to be taken seriously, the men who ain't got it, or whatever she had said. Those are the men who would have to take issue with you asking for that kind of money up front. That's just silly. We all know, and Angela Yee knew, and the lady at the couch knew. She's like, where are these men? Who do you think has more experience dealing with men, her or Yada? Her. She's the one dating them. Where are these men? She wasn't an ugly lady. If those men were as plentiful as Yada was saying, one, he'd be able to name where they are, which he never did. And number two, she'd have found them. But the men that have that type of access to resources are the most meticulous and intentional negotiators about value. This is between just us. I don't know what he meant by that, just you're on camera for everybody to be able to see. This guy is like almost like a trained salesman when it comes to tapping into ladies' emotions. But the ladies on the show had pretty good sense. They're like, what do you mean? Just us, people on the show. And I'm not being petty with this point either. It's he never answers the question. It's like a good deflection, a good red herring. Hey, y'all, listen. So he changes the subject. When you get real, we learn that in sales. You change your tonality and your voice inflection in order to get people to really focus on what you're saying. She asked 2 or 3 times, where are these men? Where are these men? Where are these men? Hey, y'all, this between us. This between us. So now you're kind of listening in for a secret. What is he going to say here? She already forgot the question he was asking about, where are these men? And then he starts to speak. It has nothing to do with what she was asking. It never gets addressed. This guy gets off scot-free with his sophistry. And a lot of ladies, and probably some guys, leave thinking this guy right here was just dropping bars. Look at this erudite, astute individual. No. It's sophistry. He's beguiling you. He's hoodwinking you. He's a shyster. This between just us. Date, but no sex. Now, from a biblical standpoint, sex outside of marriage is fornication. There's no two ways about that. He doesn't even believe in dating. But this lady, her whole point was, I've been abstinent for a certain period of time. I want to be to have a whole phase. So he's completely off topic. So you expect these men to be taking this lady out on dates, spending money, spending time, spending money, spending time. And she wants to have 2 or 3. So not even getting her undivided attention. And these guys are doing all this for what? For a lady who's admittedly in their whole phase. So you are telling her to take advantage of men. Look at the smile on his face right now while it's paused. Again, the devil can smile in your face. The lady admits she's in a whole phase. The lady admits that she wants to have a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever she said. He's telling guys to pay this girl $50. Or she said, ask guys to pay you this $50. Don't even sleep with them. Is she even in a mindset to be a wife? When does he ever address that part? He's telling her if you want to find a man to take care of you in every kind of way. And then in a lot of ways, he really doesn't have a very high view of men who don't make millions of dollars. he really didn't have a high view of men like this, which is the bulk of the men. If something happens with his home, a pipe bust, the AC goes out, the home needs to be remodeled, or the foundation needs to be settled again, the guys that are going to come to the rescue to help him out, the cop if he calls the police, the firefighter if he has a fire, these are middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class individuals that won't be able to pay $50K to go on a date with somebody. This is the kind of guy who's achieved a certain level of success financially, and now he thinks he is above everybody else. He has no regard for the men who helped build the world that he lives in and is able to use. So that's what I got on the, what he said so far in all different videos part. We can head back into it, so if you don't have anything.
There is, I don't switch up ever. What I
Stop.
say, I mean, and I stand on it as a man. That's what men do. Men stand on what they say. Now, it's okay for you to say, you know what, I got it wrong, and I was pandering to Angela Yee and lip service over to them women because I wanted to be liked instead of telling the truth. But the thing about real ones, the thing about the people that really believe in God is that they tell the truth in season and out of season. They don't switch up. They don't change according to who they're in front of at the time. They're not trying to be popularized. They're not trying to fit in with the in crowd. No, look at me in my eyes. Don't switch up.
Yes,
You seen me. You was looking at me.
Listen, I know I'll try to
Look
find
at me
it
in my
right
That's unable to show him. Listen to me, brother, because you're talking about God. Listen to me, please. A man that's unable to show and prove himself to a woman shouldn't have that woman. This is the laws of nature. Even animals, when it comes to alphas, they'll fight physically to show who deserving of this woman. And that woman goes, or that female species goes with the animal. I'm saying the same thing. Ladies, if this man is unable to provide your every need mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially, he's not deserving of you. And if you hear me say date them all, which I did say, you hear me not denying it, because she's already man, this brother here, I said date them all, because if a man can't show and prove to you, you don't need him. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I believe that this would save so many women from having dusty bums in their life that they don't need, nor do they deserve that woman. So any man listening, if you truly want that woman, show and prove to her and yourself that you're deserving of that woman. The woman is the greatest gift given to man by God.
No, it's not. And let me correct them. Okay. Never.
Okay, hold on. What do you disagree with?
I'm about to explain. Show and prove yourself to and let me correct them. Okay. Never.
Okay, hold on. What do you disagree with?
I'm about to explain it to you.
Okay, go ahead.
Never have to show and prove yourself to a woman. Ever. Never make a woman your God, because that's what you just told them to do. Show and prove yourself to God. That's the only person that you have to answer to. And the thing that he sent as greater than any woman is the comforter. And the Holy Spirit will guide you, and it will show you your wife, and you don't have to prove yourself to her. The only thing you have to do is be exactly what God ordained you to be, and that's to serve your purpose, and she will follow you, and she will 100% submit herself to you. And on top of that, she will be the helpmeet that God ordained her to be. Never, ever prove yourself to a woman. Only prove yourself to God. And the greatest gift was the comforter. That's what the greatest
when
gift
a man
was.
steps into his divine nature given to him by God, it's a protector, provider, leader, teacher. He walks in the divine attribute of God. This is not me saying, when a man steps into his divine nature given to him by God, it's a protector, provider, leader, teacher. He walks in the divine attributes of God. This is not me saying, show and prove this. Well, no, show and prove who you are, but how you move.
That's not what you said.
Listen to me, brother.
If
God has put the man as the head, man, be the head. What is the head? A leader, a teacher, a guide, and a protector. You said God, man, woman. The man should
And
be the
child.
roof. The man should be the roof to that woman. He should make sure she's secure. He should make sure she's safe. He should make sure that she's stable. And if he can't do that, he's not moving in the characteristics of God and does not deserve that woman. That's why so many men that run behind these weak men teaching, saying, I'm the prize. I don't have to show myself. Show yourself worthy. Because if you're truly a man of God, I will be able to tell by the fruit you bear, and your fruit should be leading, teaching, guiding, protecting, loving on each and every level.
Listen, you could
Hold on, fellas. To
Praises.
come here
Thank you,
and
brother.
speak to Yada Awakening about these very important conversations. And the crazy things, I'm looking at the chat. Even the chat is absolutely divided. Let's actually read some of these super chats.
6,200 people in the chat right now. Shout out
There
to
we go.
Silent Sniper. Wait, so now going against men of today isn't enough. We gotta attack Adam too. Yada is wild. Shout
That's hilarious.
Bars. Gotta play that back.
Read some of these super chats. real quick
6,200
before we
people
keep
in the chat
moving.
right now. Shout out
There
to
we go.
Silent Sniper. Wait, so now going against men of today isn't enough. We gotta attack Adam too. Yada is wild. Shout out to AQ. Please define business relationship. Marriage is a covenant. How is this a business relationship? I think AQ needs a little bit more detail. Shout out to Michael Mitchell. Says, shout out to Anton and the Bag Chasers. We up 100%. Shout out to Samaya. Says, if you read the Holy Bible and the Holy Quran, you will know in depth Islam and Christianity goes hand in hand. Shout out to Jay Bay. Says, yes, he does hold women accountable. Yada held his own mother accountable through his healing journey with their childhood trauma he has endured as a kid. Shout out to Z123Z. Says, women are always to blame in a patriarchal society. Not all cultures are built on patriarchy. We don't have to look at life or relationships through a Judeo-Christian perspective. Shout out to Kim Trap, 7 months as an initiate. Yes, we love you, Kim Trap. She says, lack of accountability for men and women is the first step to victimhood in the Black community. We are so focused on blaming the other. Shaking my head. Shout out to Howdu Muslima. Says, Yada, we need more men like you. Please teach these boys how to be men. Women are tired of these weak males. I say congratulations to your wife thousands of times. May Allah bless you both. And guys, man, y'all really killing it. Shout out to all the support we getting tonight. Again, 6,200 people in the chat. Shout out to Seminole 2014. The woman is not God. That's a blasphemous statement. A man ain't God either. God is above all. Follow him sincerely and he'll guide you in all your ways. I want better for Black people, but it might be too late. And shout out to Atlanta Streets Interview, who's been going crazy in the chat. Says, Anton standing on business. He came prepared to cook that boy about wasted. Angela Yee. Y'all are sweating right now, LOL. Man, the Bag Chasers and NDBA going crazy right now. Man, shout out to all initiates joining. Shout out to NDBA. Shout out to the Bag Chasers, man. It's been an incredible night so far. 6,200 people in the chat. It looks like, man, the only thing we really did agree on was this. I dropped the poll earlier. It's got 2,800 votes. It's been open for about 30 minutes, probably the longest poll we ever had open. Are women less submissive? And 72% of the people in the chat say absolutely. So that is something that most people agree on. Women are having issues with submission.
And so,
Believe personally that we should put our women in boxes. If a woman has a child or doesn't have a child,
Let's
a good
pause
woman
right
is a
there.
good woman. My wife.
So it look like he's about to go into a different topic. Yeah, that's the end of the that one says dating women with children. So that means we're done with the one he was talking about before, which is
Our women are less submissive.
yeah, women less submissive. So I mean, some things I want to cover, and there was a few that I didn't catch because there was rattling off the comments so fast. I missed some of them, but he used an animal analogy, which is fine. I think I remember which one I was going to cover now. Oh yeah, hold women accountable. That's what I was going to say. Hold women accountable. He does hold women accountable. He does hold women accountable because blah blah blah. What she said.
Something about his mom.
I remember now. I'm just writing it down so I don't forget. Yeah,
No.
But so animal analogy. And the thing about his animal analogy is there's truth to the point that in pretty much all species, including with humans, there is a burden of performance placed on the male of that particular species. That's especially within mammals. It's pretty across the board. Even outside of mammals, you see that these guys are going to fight to be able to have the right to mate with the ladies. Generally speaking, the general idea of it is it's going to be the ladies want the strongest genes. So if that guy is more powerful, stronger, whatever it is, he's healthier, he's stronger. That's the kind of children that they want to have going into the next generation. Simple as that. It's very similar, but a lot more complex with humans. The taller, faster, stronger, smarter, funnier, more resourceful man is going to win most of the time. Now, all of us don't have all those qualities on high levels, so there's going to be some give and some take. You got to factor in proximity. You know, you could have a man who's a level 10 in all those categories, but if he's 500 miles away, the women, you know, and there's no airplanes or ships or anything like that, and you live in 1,000 years ago, he doesn't have access to the woman that's way over there. So there's all kind of factors. Just, you know, who knows how many factors there are that go into how people end up coupling and who ends up reproducing with who. But generally speaking, women are going to go off after the men who are the highest in the hierarchies. So that part is true. But the thing about the animal thing is it's going to backfire in this conversation about dating women with children. Because generally speaking, the males of the species don't raise other males' children. And bears and lions, they will just go ahead and take out those cubs. One, it typically puts the female back in the heat, so she can bear his children. And not only that, also it's less mouths to feed. Other males typically don't want to raise other males' children. So if he used that animal analogy there, it's going to backfire him later on in this conversation. Women is the greatest gift given to a man. I think Anton did a good job battling that. I mean, there's nowhere in the Bible where it says that the greatest gift for a man is a woman. Obviously, the Bible talks about a man who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor with the Lord. There's definitely a blessing and a gift to having a good woman. That's for sure. The Holy Spirit is a gift that was given. Anton points out the Paraclete. So that's a good point. There are some men like Paul in the Bible, Jesus, who didn't take on women in their lifetime. So were they just without God's greatest gift? There are some people who never married, both women and men. They didn't miss out on God's greatest gift. Obviously, God's greatest gift is going to be salvation, which is in theology where the Holy Spirit comes and dwells within you and you become a new creature. So that's from a biblical standpoint. So he's wrong on that point. And what Yada is saying could be taken as just women worship. And my issue with women worship is you only really see this be an issue or something that men are being called to do in our communities. You don't see it in the white community, the Indian community, the Asian community, women worship. And because you don't see that in those cultures, we got to ask ourselves, why is it only our culture really tends to push that kind of stuff? And is that going to help us to be successful in our endeavors, financially, domestically, whatever you want to say? So that's one point I want to make about that. The question is, are women less submissive? I said dating women with children, but that's going to jump to the next topic. But are women less submissive? He never addresses that. He talks about if a man isn't doing everything for you. So basically, a woman's whole nature and attitude and behavior is based off what the man is or isn't doing. That's a recipe for disaster on a psychological level. Anytime you take away people's accountability for stuff, you're in bad shape. You're gonna be in bad shape. You can't base what your actions are on somebody else. So again, that's the point that he's making that just doesn't stand the test of time, and it's a recipe for disaster. Islam and Christianity go hand in hand. That's what other people said in the comments. There's some ways in which Islam and Christianity go hand in hand, and other ways in which they don't. Definitely, Islam believes that Jesus was never crucified. Christianity believes Jesus Christ was crucified. Matter of fact, that's a central theme in the Bible, and without that, there is no salvation. Muslims think that Jesus was a prophet. Orthodox Christian doctrine teaches that Jesus was God in the flesh. Just those distinctions alone. Muslims believe that Muhammad was a prophet. Orthodox Christian belief is there was no major prophets after the apostles died. So these are major distinctions. So there is no, so the Quran would never even come into play. The Quran refers to the Gospels in the Bible as the Injil, and the Quran is that the Quran tells its practitioners to follow the books of the Bible, the Injil and stuff like that. References to Jesus, like I think 23 times. So the Quran confirms the Bible, but the Bible does not confirm the Quran. So you gotta run into that issue. Patriarchy, attack on women. My issue with this is that we don't have a lot of examples of non-patriarchal societies. 99% of societies that have ever existed have been patriarchy, meaning men-led, which makes sense because women want leaders. So you'd expect the men to lead. There's studies from, it's not a socialization thing. They've done studies on babies and toddlers, and the men tend to be problem solvers. Sorry, the boys tend to be problem solvers, and the girls tend to not be as interested in problem solving. Boys tend to separate themselves into hierarchies and play games where there's winners and losers, and they're figuring out who's the fastest, who's the smartest, who's the strongest. Ladies don't tend to be as interested in those type of exercises. So all these things, all these different personality and temperaments and proclivities shape how a person's going to be as they get older and what they develop and what they invest themselves into. Ladies tend to go into fields of study that are people related. Men tend to go into fields of study that are things related. All that's going to have a major impact on who's running the society. Women want to mate with somebody who's bigger than them, that's stronger than them, and smarter than them, and more experienced than them. Men tend to like people that are smaller than them. Who do you think is going to end up running that society? Testosterone. When you put testosterone at high of a level in a human being, that makes them ambitious. That makes them want to conquer things. Women don't have testosterone that same ability, that same extent. All these things is saying one thing. All these different aspects of the conversation is leading up to one aspect. It's a cumulative case that I'm making to some extent, but I'm just saying men are going to run societies around the world. People say, oh, it's a cultural thing. Well, then why is it 99% of culture around the world are run by men? It's a biological thing. It's a biological reason why we're that way. So the patriarchal part in attack on women, we got to examine that. And then on top of that, women, it can be said, are taken care of in patriarchy, or they're not held as accountable as often or as much because they're not expected to do as much. So there's a good case that could be made that in the patriarchal system, women aren't attacked more. Women aren't even put in the forefront to be attacked more. The people that are attacked the most, what do they say? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. A hit dog will holler. Who's hollering in the world more times than not? It's the men. Men have higher rates of deleting themselves. Men have higher rates of ADHD and mental disorders and alcoholism and homelessness and homicide rates. All of these things are on the men's side. Now, there's some things that affect women more than men, but generally speaking, men at the top get to enjoy vast amounts of privilege, but average men to the men at the bottom typically have it a lot worse than women have it in the patriarchal system. And women get a lot more sympathy. They've done shows on this where they show a woman attacking a man in front of everybody, and they see who helps that man. Then they show a man attacking a woman in public and see who helps that woman. They've done all these stuff. You go put it on YouTube and look at it. You can see studies that have been done on that. People don't really care to help men like that in the patriarchy. People care to help women. So my point is saying that whoever made that comment is not in step with what's actually going on. Everybody has it tough in a society. Economics is going to be tough. It's going to be tough all around because we're all competing for resources. And there's a limited amount of resources. And people have conflicting interests that don't always coincide with your best interests and what's going to help you to do the best for you and your family, male or female. But there are a lot more programs devoted to helping women. There's a lot more programs devoted to women getting over different things than there are for men. So keep that in mind when you hear people say things like that. Women are more victimized and stuff like that. They did a study. When it comes to a lot of women that think they're being victimized, they've done studies on that part too. I may have covered it before in the last show. I don't know. But there is evidence that suggests that women are more prone to believe they're victims than men are. So you got to factor that in as well. Did I cover everything on there? Oh, yeah. And then the last one I was going to cover on here, somebody goes, he does hold women accountable. He held his mom accountable for how she treated him as a child. This is when we get into the composition fallacy. Composition fallacy. When you say what's true of the part is true of the whole. Just because you've seen a time where he held somebody accountable, held a woman accountable, doesn't mean that he generally holds women accountable. So just because you can name one example, oh, he held his mom accountable here. There could be a conflict of interest with that. Obviously, if his mom hurt him, he may be more likely to hold her accountable because it affected him. But he's talking about all these men out here who are plumbers and work at a register at a store, men that sweep the floors, to keep the downtown area clean. All these men who do the working class jobs every single day to keep everything moving. The guy who's taking out the trash, all this stuff that happens in our society to keep society being clean and successful and able to move on forward. All those kind of things right there. If that guy is talking bad about those particular people, what does it say about him? So that's not holding women accountable for how they deal with those men by saying these men got to do everything. These guys got to be superhuman, super individuals just to be able to get with a lady who's an average person herself. You got to read that part out? You're on mute.
Sorry, my Mike was on mute. Yes, the composition fallacy. You assume that that one part of the excuse me, we got the background noise. You assume that one part of something has to be applied to all or other parts of it, or that's the whole part, or the whole must apply to its parts. Often, when something is true for the part, it does also apply to the whole, or vice versa. But the crucial difference is whether there exists good evidence to show that this is the case. Because we observe consistencies in things, our thinking can become biased so that we presume consistency to exist where it does not. On that note, I do got a quick question. I want to ask you this, Vulcan. Is it crucial for his listeners to be aware of his beliefs?
What do you mean by that?
His beliefs, what he believes in. He's saying God, but I'm not. It's not clear what religion he practiced.
I think
is that crucial for his listeners to know that? What?
No, I don't think it's crucial for listeners to know that. I think it is helpful though. You don't need to know his beliefs in order to decipher what he's saying is true. It can be helpful at times. Okay. Because it can give you a baseline in which to judge what he's saying. So if I want to know, because there's certain things that people say that are either true or false. 2 + 2 is 4. My shirt is blue, whatever it is. Those things are true or false. You don't need to know about me and what I believe to be able to judge those things, right? You're telling people, hey, you got to deal with a man who's 50K, that gives you 50K to date. All you got to do is look up how many people actually have 50K in their bank account in America to know how realistic of a solution is that? But when people are saying things that you really can't weigh, you really can't judge because it's more it's moral things, or it's things that are more spiritual, then all you can do is judge it against their own beliefs, see if they're being consistent. So you're looking for consistency in what they're saying.
Okay.
Because if a guy comes and tells me, hey, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, whatever, and I believe that it's okay to, chop up people and put them in blenders and stuff like that, there's nothing I can really measure them against other than their own beliefs. I can say, hey, look, in this surah right here, in this scripture right here, it says that you're not allowed to do that, or you are allowed to do that. I can measure them against their own beliefs. I can hold them accountable to their own beliefs, whether I believe that a particular thing or not. Just like if I was dealing with somebody from the KKK, and I saw they had a black girlfriend or boyfriend, I might be like, hey, look, are you allowed to be doing that as a KKK member? I don't got to be KKK to know that that's not something that they're allowed to do. Same thing goes for other types of beliefs, religious beliefs people have. You can look at the text and see if it's consistent with their doctrine. That has to do with his integrity. Not that I care that he's right or wrong about his belief. It's just that it has to do with his integrity as a person. If you say you're this, I'm expecting you to be this. If you can pick and choose when you're this and when you're not, based off what benefits you, you're not a person of integrity. You're not consistent. You're not somebody that people should look to as a leader or mentor, because you shift based off what's in your best interest. You could say this today, and tomorrow you could say something completely opposite because it benefits you to say that the next day.
Absolutely.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, it did. Sorry, let's get back.
Right. Let's go.
Had a child prior to me, and I love this child. This child loves me, but the child also knows that I'm not her father, but I play a role as a father figure in her life. She's probably watching right now, and if you're watching right now, baby girl, I love you and I'm thankful for you. When a man is
Just to catch the audience up, the title, I guess the topic they're on right now is dating women with red flags. And I guess one of the red flags, women that already have children. Just to keep y'all updated.
able to lead, guide, and protect. When a man's able to walk with the attributes of the Most High God, it doesn't matter if the woman is single or not, because if a man can lead, he can lead. It doesn't matter if the woman has 3 children, 2 children, 1 child, no child. If the man can lead, he can lead. I believe, my opinion in my heart, that when a man is truly invested into God and into bettering himself, God's going to send him an aid, regardless if the aid has a child or no child. I don't think we should keep telling women, oh, your value is lowered because you have children. That makes no sense. Now, brothers, I believe that if you're unable to even deal with your own personal emotions, I think you should stay alone and by yourself, or get with a woman that has nothing else going on. Y'all can probably grow together. But when you're coming into a woman's life that has a child, you have to be able to lead. You have to be able to father. You have to be able to teach. And you have to be able to love unconditionally, because I love my wife's child as if she's my own flesh and blood. So I don't believe personally that we should put a woman in the box because a man might overlook a divine asset sent to him by God just because she has a child. I don't agree to that. And that's like me telling a woman, overlook this man because he has children. No, I believe an asset is an asset. A woman that has a child isn't a liability. And if she's coming into your life to help you maneuver into becoming your greatest version, because a woman can help a man become greater emotionally and mentally, she adds on to the man. And if the child is there, this man, especially if he doesn't have children, he can learn how to father through this. So ladies, please hear me. Your value is not dropped because you have children. Men, please hear me. Your value is not dropped because you have children. Some of you, or some of us, me included, weren't taught how to properly wait until marriage to have children. So I'm speaking to the brothers that's trying to figure it out by themselves. I'm speaking to the women that's trying to figure out by themselves. Love yourself. And never lower your value, regardless if you had children or not. Excuse me.
There you have it.
We 100% disagree on this one.
Okay.
Any of these, it's not. The person that you have children with, the person that you have sex with, that's your husband, that's your wife. Before any of these Western modern laws that then incentivize people to get married, the person that you opened up your legs to was your husband. And so we have too many broken homes, and we're trying to puzzle this thing and Tetris it together to justify that it makes sense. Now, is there circumstances, because I'm never going to speak on somebody else's situation. I speak in general. I don't know him. I would never speak on his children or his wife. That has nothing to do with me.
I appreciate
whatsoever,
that, brother.
Right? So I have the utmost respect for him and his family.
Thank you.
So I'm just speaking in general. All right. So I want to make sure that I preface that, because I don't want there to be any attacks. Right.
Understood.
But my point is that we need to get back to the core and the root, because if you remove the safety net, people would be more accountable for the things that they did and who they opened up their legs to. Right now, more than ever, there's a pandemic, an epidemic of women celebrating women having children out of wedlock. And we know that statistically speaking, that is a bad situation. You are more likely to end up in jail. You're more likely to join a gang. You're more likely to need therapy. You're less likely to be successful when it comes to future relationships. You're less likely to become a millionaire and earn as much. You're more likely to have debt as a result of student loan debt and things and so on and so forth. And so if we gonna solve for this problem as a culture, we have to remove the incentives for people to think that it's okay to have families outside of the covenant that God has ordained for us to have. Now, do circumstances happen? Absolutely. But it absolutely does not. That is not the majority. Most people are intentional. And let me address something else that he said. By the time that we are able to bust one, we know what's right and wrong. You know that you should not be having children out of wedlock. This is not something that we have to discover. At a very basic level, we know better. And that's why I can speak to men when I say the majority of men, especially black men, do not have children out of wedlock. That is a small minority of men that is populating the majority of these women. And we don't really want to hold them accountable because we know that women are the biggest consumers. And so again, I'm not here to make people feel good. I'm here to tell them the truth. No, I do not think that a man needs to practice becoming a father.
I'm not sure the best place to stop it there, but I do want to address some points. He hasn't really spoken to some of the things that Yada said that I was going to focus on, which was value lower because you have children. Audience, you got to hear this. Sometimes we can use words that apply. I won't even say it that way. They do apply, but I'll say they have different meanings in different contexts. Or they apply to different stratospheres of existence or planes of existence. And the rubric or the metrics we use for those are going to vary. So, for instance, value. The value that a woman with a child may have to her employer may be different than it has to the people she's dating, to people that might have to people at her church, to her family, to her specifically. It's always going to be different. Just like a vehicle or a chair or anything else in life. Everybody has their own value that they place on a certain thing. Then you can go to the macro level and say the generalities. Generally speaking, how do women value their children? Women place a high value on their children. Women place the highest value on their children than probably other people place on their children outside of the father. You have grandparents, you have siblings. They place a high value on that child. That makes sense. Now, once you get further removed from the family, you see the value start to diminish. So the value that your neighbor places on your child is not going to be as high as the value you place on your child. The value that the teacher placed on your child is not going to be the same as the value that the person you see at the grocery store placed on your child. Then we got to go into the dating market. When you're a lady out there dating men and you have children, just because the value of your child to you is whatever it is, doesn't mean that that man is going to place your child in that same value set. And that's normal. So what Yada's doing is a straw man. A straw man is when you pretend to be refuting somebody's position, their argument, but you're really attacking either a weak version of it or not a version of it at all, the straw man. So it's not a real man. It's not the real enemy or the real version of what they were saying. You pick a weaker or an insufficient or not even that version of what they're saying, and you start to attack that and refute that. That's what he's doing here. Generally speaking, give me 3 minutes, give it something to drink. Okay. Generally speaking, when we're talking about the value with women with children, we're talking about the value in the dating marketplace. So a lady with a child versus that same lady without the child, generally speaking, has less value to the dating marketplace. Meaning that she may go down a level, generally speaking, in men's eyes as being a prize or being sought after because of the child. And the more children you add to it, for obvious reasons, financial reasons. The more children you have, the more expensive it is to maintain that family. Also, there's a child there. Now that man may have to coordinate with the man who's outside of the home on how to deal with the children. It doesn't mean it's impossible, it just complicates the issues. People in general tend to go the path of least resistance. You got girl A and girl B, and they're both good girls, but one has a child and one doesn't. Generally speaking, men are going to go towards the one without the child. It's just easier. Again, it's fun. It costs a little bit less money, and there's a little bit less red tape on how you handle that kid, handling the kid because there's no kid there versus a kid that's there that has a dad out there. Somebody else has to say so about the kid's behaviors and interactions. That's just common sense. I mentioned this earlier. He mentioned about the animals in the animal kingdom. If you use the animal kingdom example in this situation, you're going to find that a lot of times within the animal kingdom, the males will get rid of the children of other males to put the lady back in heat and or to get rid of somebody sucking up their resources. They bring a carcass back, a lion bring a carcass back for everybody to be able to eat. Typically the ladies hunt, but the man eats first. He wants his kids eating that food to get stronger, to have his genes go into the next generation. So Yada, if he's going to use animal situation in that, if he used it here, it would go work against his point. I don't know if he would be consistent in that way when he views that. But going back to this value thing, you have to understand a human being's value before God doesn't change. Whether they have children, they don't have children, they're handicapped, they're not handicapped, they're tall, they're short, they're ugly, they're beautiful, they're strong, they're weak, whatever it is. That's a different thing. We're all made in the imago Dei, the image of God. So the value change depend upon who you want to perceive and evaluate that value is going to vary. Men and women have to understand that if you're asking somebody to evaluate your value, which is what you're doing if you're asking somebody to employ you, you're asking for somebody to date you, you're asking for somebody to do some kind of business partnership with you, they're going to have to do an evaluation. This is very common. They're going to place a value on it. You're placing a value on them. We don't entertain everybody. We don't entertain every opportunity. We entertain the ones that we see us getting some kind of value. Most of life is very transactional. Most of life. Even the doctrine of justification, theological terms, is transactional. So it's very transactional. So that being the case, don't let Yada fool you into thinking that because the way you value yourself or value your child means that men in the dating world are going to value it the same way. Or conversely, ladies are going to value it the same way if you're a man with children versus a man without children. Now we know that women don't place the same emphasis on men having kids as men place on women for obvious reasons. Now, from a biological standpoint, part of the reason why they say that men place such a value on women being childless is because back before you can ensure paternity, it was very much important for a man, and especially at this time period with a struggle for resources. There's no H-E-B's, there's no Kroger's. You have to eat you have to eat only what you could kill, and there's famine, so there was very limited resources. So you taking somebody else's child when you plan on having your own kids could be the difference in life and death, where you're having to choose between children. This was a very common thing at certain points in time in history around the world. So men have a natural aversion to things like that in a way that women wouldn't have, because they're not the ones that are having to provide the resources. So when Yad is saying that, it's okay to affirm women and let them know, like, hey, look, you're not less than because you have whatever you have. That makes sense. But don't think that you can take how you value yourself and transfer that to other people in business, in dating, whatever it is, in a marriage, because they have their own rubric for how they evaluate a value. And just in a very common sense way, it makes sense that the more mouths you bring to the table, the more valuable you need to be for them to see it as an asset. Every situation isn't an asset. Every situation isn't a liability. And I think it's good that Yad is bringing that to the forefront to say, hey, look, don't just rule somebody out just because of one particular thing that may or may not be an issue. But when he makes use of extreme language of every child's an asset, that's not the case. Every woman with a child, is brings value. That's not necessarily the case. Stepdads get treated poorly in a lot of situations. We know that. It used to be an honorable thing in society
That's
to be
a fact.
Yeah. It used to be an honorable thing in society to be a stepdad. Now you see videos all online talking about you're not my real dad. You got the mom saying, hey, look, I'll handle my kid. So this man has to lead at home where he can't even discipline the children. Another difficulty with a lot of ladies who have children is you have to deal with the fact that if that child says anything that the kid did, that the parent did, whether it's true or false, that might be the cause of a major rift in the relationship. He looked at me funny. She looked at me funny. They whoop me for no reason. They're always mean to me. Now you're having a battle of kids' perception with this person that you've chosen to be with. That's a complication. Some don't seem to be worth it. Because for a lot of women, once you have an idea in your head of something, it's going to be hard to get it out. Just by association. And a lot of ladies, when it comes to raising their children, they tend to put their children above the man. So he's coming into a scenario a lot of times where he knows he's going to be second and third place. I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying that that's wrong. What I'm saying is that if you're competing with other women for the men that you value, who do you think has a more of a likelihood of getting that particular man, especially with the resources and the man who's competent and a leader and who's a risk calculator? The one who's saying, hey, look, I'm going to put you first, or the one who's going, well, you're going to be second to my child. You got to be realistic. The path of least resistance is going to win. So the last thing I want to cover, he says, we're not taught how to wait until marriage. I think Anton did a good job breaking it down. We all know what's right and wrong when it comes to that. Now, depending upon what he means by taught, there's something that you could say about that. I mean, are we taught all the ways in which we can live a life of avoiding, raising children without marriage? I don't know if we're all taught that. It's not heavily heralded in our particular culture and family structure as African Americans, and in the country at large, we're all kind of going away from those values. So it is a thing. We're actually told the opposite in a lot of ways. In our culture, in our music, we're told the opposite. In our TV shows, there's less of an emphasis on the family structure, more of an emphasis on fun and happiness and doing whatever you desire, hedonism. So I will say that Yada is right that we're not taught that, but it's not like we're not taught that it's wrong. We do know that it's wrong, especially those of us in our 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. I can't speak for 20-year-olds and teens at this time, but I can definitely say that those of us in the 30s, 40s, 50s, yeah, we know that stuff's not right. You're married before you carry. We've all heard that phraseology. So again, Yada saying this point is in some ways taking accountability off the people who are making these decisions. We do these things not because we don't know, but because we get gratified in doing it. It feels good to do that. We want to do what we want to do. We don't have anybody telling us what to do. That's the reality. That's human nature. So when he says it's ignorance, it's not ignorance. It's rebellion.
That's right.
And if we're not going to call it rebellion, then what's going to happen is we're going to mislead people. We're not going to have this proper solutions because we haven't really identified the problem. We're thinking it's ignorance when it's really rebellion. Anything on that he knows?
No, sir. I think you covered that pretty well.
All right, we can keep going.
Father to a child that's not his and trying to figure it out to negotiate and work with another man that wants to probably at some point participate in this child's life because it is a zero-sum game. And I know so many people that regret the day that they ever decided to get into a relationship with a woman that then ultimately should have went back to her child's father. Go back to your child's father and work it out. Because that's the person that you created the covenant with. That's the person that you married according to God's law. Go fix it. That's what you need to do.
Now, what if a woman is saying that this man is just absolutely egregious? That's just somebody I was. It's not even something that I can repair, go back to.
It's not about
how
you.
How do you give that woman?
It's not about
advice?
her. It's about the child. Everything that you do is what's best for the child. You remove yourself. You got to put down with self and up with God. What is in the best interest of that child? Is it in the best interest of that child for you to be raising that child in a two-parent household with the father? And if so,
what's crazy is the two hosts, the bald guy looks like Tony Allen, I think his name is, the comedian who does those videos.
Hilarious.
And then the other guy looks like that ex-cop who's like does a lot of conservative reaction videos.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I see these guys, I can't stop thinking about those guys. Like they look just like them. You see it?
Yeah, I'm trying to find them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can, when we do the edits and the cuts, you can definitely find that because I see it like it's clear as day. But yeah, we can keep going. It's tough because we covered some of this stuff last time. I'm trying to have a fresh perspective on it, but it's like a lot of this stuff they've already talked about.
Why didn't you think about that before you opened up your legs to him? Because we got over 100 different forms of contraception. It's not about how you feel. It's about the child. I do the thing that's in the best interest of my child, not me. I put myself last. But I also understand that the things that I do in my greatness, she's the beneficiary of it. And I would never, ever, under any circumstance, let another man raise my child.
And that's beautiful.
Another man raise my child.
And that's beautiful. What he's saying is beautiful. And he's coming from a place of being raised by mother and father. But you have so many women that never seen their father. They've never known that a woman should get married before they have children. Hold on, bro. Let me speak. Because majority of young girls are they're starting to lose their virginities at very young ages as children, looking to replace that feeling of not having a father. They just want to feel some form of masculine love. So if this child made a mistake at 15 or made a mistake at 16 by sleeping with the wrong man that promised her the world, oh, baby, I love you. Oh, baby, I'm thankful for you. Oh, baby, I'll never leave you. And she got into this woman's head because, like you said, fathers should know and teach their daughters right for wrong. You do agree, correct? Mm-hmm. So if the father isn't there and she's running behind a masculine energy and this man is saying, I love you, I'll never leave you, I'll never cheat on you, and she falls in love with this man now saying, I want your body. If you love me, let me get your body. She doesn't know right for wrong because she didn't see no man growing up. Now she gives this man the body.
Mm-hmm.
Now a child is born. That means that this man right here that doesn't have any children should not get with her.
Absolutely not.
Come on, brother.
Absolutely not.
Come on, brother.
100%.
Come on, brother. Antoine, let me say it like that. It's toxic to teach a woman to stay in a home where there's no form of love or safety or security, because that teaches the woman, the young child, it teaches the young girl that she should grow up and stay in a relationship with a man that's abusive, that attacks her mentally and physically, emotionally. We have to understand the majority of women will not leave a place where she feels safe. She will not leave a place where she feels loved. Men keep screaming that women are leaving men or divorcing men in high numbers because these women are no longer happy. They no longer feel safe. They're not being financially provided for. They're taking care of grown men. And I know brothers, right, that are amazing fathers, amazing fathers, and raising their bonus children. These bonus children aren't curses, they're blessings. And any man that's able to lead another child that's not biologically his, I salute you. Because the average man will not understand that. Again, Antoine was raised in a home with two parents, which is beautiful. Like I can't.
And he's saying that like that's a
hold
knock on me.
on.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful that he was raised in a home with two parents, but a lot of people didn't have the privilege of seeing that. So they're making mistakes, brother. They're making mistakes. She fell in love with the wrong. She fell in love with the wrong man. Whatever happened. But ladies, do not allow this man up here to make you feel like you're not deserving of a man. Or man, if you're in a relationship with a woman that has children, do your thing. I salute you. It takes a real man to be able to step up and be a father when no one else is.
No, it's not about do your thing. It's about going. Not on all men. That's bullcrap.
What's not on all men?
It's not on this whole narrative of what we see in the culture. This is not a black man thing. The majority of men. So stop making up this narrative of an abusive household. Was he abusive? Wait. No.
That's what I'm saying.
No, let me finish. This is my question to you. Right. Was he abusive before you opened up your legs to him?
Now, can I speak? That's cool with you.
I asked you a question.
Good. Brother, we have men that are some pro finessers. They will give a woman a representation of themselves. And when they've got their hooks into the woman, they turn into something different. No woman in her right mind is going to be in a relationship with a man that's negative, Nancy, breaking her down mentally, physically, and spiritually, not providing for her financially. No, they get the hooks in her. And then when he feels like he's got her in love and all she knows is him, he turns into something different. All I'm saying to you, brother, this is what I want. No, I need you to hear this. Every woman that has had a child and is not with the man aren't bad people. And every man that had a child and not with the woman is not bad people. We keep saying a man shouldn't be with a woman that has children. Why? Because she have her children, but this man has children and children aren't with them. We have to make sense of this. Why do we keep saying, man, don't be with a woman with children, but we're not saying nothing by the man that's not taking care of his children or there for his children?
I want to actually ask that question. Would you pretty much instruct any woman to the same rule that women should also
I would not tell a woman that don't have children to marry a man.
So yeah, we'll pause there a little. We got like 7 minutes left in this. So I'm gonna cover some of the points that he made. Anything you want to say?
No, sir.
So he mentioned we got guys who are pro finessers. That's true. But out of 100 men, most men aren't, definitely not pro finessers. And then some of these guys, I wouldn't even think they qualify as amateur finessers. The average woman is a lot more able to finesse than the average man is. Now, the men at the top that all the women want, we'll say the top 10% of men, top 15% max. Yeah, I'm not saying these guys are finessing, but they have the leverage to finesse. So that's a reality. But he says in one breath, we can say this about the women, we can't say this about the men. Well, you can say this about the men that they're finessers, but what about the women finessing? Women finesse in a lot of ways. I've seen women go out on dates with men they have no intention of ever being with, never entertaining these men. They put men in friend zones. Well, they extract resources out of these guys. I've seen them do all those kind of things in life, and you see this stuff bear out in the statistics. So if you look at dating app research, women are only liking 10% of the men max. So these other 90% of men don't even have a chance to do any kind of finessing. So he's heavily emphasizing these men finessing here, and these men are not doing this, not doing that, and they can't do this and this and this. But according to what he believes you should do, which you're going to say one thing, say the other side. He doesn't say the other side in this area. So I'm just holding him accountable for his own standard that he set. I don't think you have to say both sides. You can pick your focus. Somebody can say, I'm going to focus on what men need to do better. What about women? What about what women need to do better? I'm going to focus on what men do better. That's fine. That's okay to do that. Now, he can't be dishonest with the other side, but he doesn't have to focus his research on that or develop programs for the other side. Everybody can pick their own specialties, what their focus is going to be. Some people are into helping. I'm going to focus on children in Rwanda and getting them the education that they need. Somebody may say, I'm going to focus on children in Rwanda. I'm going to focus on their nutrition. Somebody might say, look, I'm going to focus on, kids in Gary, Indiana, and them learning how to read. People can pick their focus. That's okay. We need everybody to be able to find their passions to help humanity and then focus on those things. And we shouldn't judge them for not picking the focus we want them to have. But people do need to be balanced in the sense of you can't be in favor of your side to the detriment of others. That's the issue. So when he talks about pro-finessers, true, but women finesse too. And a lot of studies suggest that women are better at finessing than men. There's the men at top, we'll say the top 10, 15% of men at top that are maybe the top finessers. Then you got a bunch of women who are better finessers, and you have men sprinkled in there somewhere. Getting pregnant as teens. He says you got guys telling women this, and this. They can't provide. What do you expect of a teen guy's getting a teen girl pregnant? What kind of provider do you think he's going to be? They both knew it was wrong to do it in the first place. They both knew it wasn't right. So if they're going to be having children together as teens, you can't expect that young man to be able to provide for her in all these different kind of ways. He's still growing himself. Historically speaking, that was very common. Age gap dating was a very common thing for most of around the world and for most of human history. The issue typically isn't the fact that people get married and have children young. The issue is they don't stay together nowadays. So hypothetically, if a 15 and a 16-year-old or 15 and a 15-year-old girl and guy, got married, had a baby, and they're still in high school, if they stayed together, they probably would be further along than the average individual would be. Now you have two heads instead of one. So that's very common in other cultures. People getting married in their early 20s. People in America don't get married in their teens typically, but they get married in their early 20s. Coming right into college, out of college, you see a lot of other cultures get married, and they're building their family. They're focusing on the financial goals and all other kind of goals they have. African Americans, we tend to get married later in life, if we get married at all. And then when we do get married, we tend to divorce faster. So the teen pregnancy thing is a problem for sure, but it's because we don't stay together. We don't have a good family structure. Like I said, if a teen girl's getting pregnant and her and that boy get married, on some Romeo and Juliet type stuff, you know what I'm saying? They'll be just fine. They can still go to school. They can support each other. They can figure it out. Next point. She doesn't know right from wrong. Again, this one the hyperbole comes into play. Talk about these, they don't know right from wrong, and this, and this, and this. That's an extreme. We've all been that age. I've been 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We knew that stuff was wrong. You know, so you know that stuff was wrong?
Absolutely.
So
Yes, sir.
this
Yes,
is
sir.
where yada is yada
Do
yadaing again.
Yeah. When you're young, you're doing this. A lot of times you're doing that stuff because it's fun. So
Mm-hmm.
it's fun to rebel.
Fun and it feels good.
Hmm.
And then oops,
Yep.
stay in a home of abuse and no love. Some
Mm.
ladies stay in abuse of a home with no abuse and abuse and no love. Again, these things do happen, but it's not that common. We brought up last time we did a breakdown on Dr. Cheyenne Bryant's interviews on Nick Cannon and the Cam Newton show. She said that over 70% of the time, the women that she was interacting with, their men were great men. It was the woman that had the problem. She even said in her own life, she was always around great men, and she was the one messing it up. I think I covered this last time on the show in part one, but I'll say this again. Anytime you're trying to figure out what's the problem and who's the problem and what the situation, say you have certain allergies, you don't know what the allergies are, but you're eating different foods, and sometimes you eat certain foods and you start to not feel right. With the way you start to isolate certain things. I'm gonna make this, but I'm not gonna have this, add this to it. I'm not gonna add this to it, I'm not gonna add that to it. And you start to see, okay, when I took this out, I got better. Okay, so that thing right there is causing me problems. That's what we do in the world of science. Whether you're a sociologist, you're a chemist, you're a biologist, you have your control group, you have your variable group. You start to isolate certain things, see how things respond with that thing not being present. Same thing you would do, what you could do to see if it really is true that men are creating these volatile, abusive homes. All you got to do to see if when men and women are getting together, if it's like Yada's saying, and these women are in these abusive homes where these men are tyrants and not giving them any type of love and abusing them, is say, okay, let's look at lesbian and gay couples. Who has the most domestic abuse?
Oh wow. Yeah.
By an exceedingly wide margin, lesbian couples have much higher rates of domestic abuse. They have a much higher divorce rate when you remove the men out the picture compared to gay couples. So my point is saying this: is it really the men that are the problem? Women file for divorce 80% of the time or more. So it's not the men who are leaving. Now, men aren't perfect. There's men who are doing all kind of foul stuff. Men don't report his abuse as often as women do. There are studies that suggest women are more abusive than men are, just that men don't report it. I've known men that were in abusive relationships and nobody cared. They didn't care. Church didn't care.
Mm-mm.
The people, the jobs didn't care.
No.
The police didn't care. Figure it
That's
out.
suspected. It's suspected that woman's gonna be abused.
Yeah, let the lady say he hit me. That dude might lose everything.
Yeah.
So, and what Yada's saying, there's definitely some truth to it. I'm sure it does happen. I just don't think that it's healthy that he contributes to the false narrative that it's a widespread thing that's happening all the time. And that you can't really trust men because men are these violent ruffians who are always hurting women and putting them in lose-lose situations. The research doesn't bear that out. The research definitely doesn't bear that out. Not being financially provided for. Hey, we're in a recession. There's inflation. We know what the average man makes. We know what the average woman makes. Generally, men make more than women. When you put those two incomes together, that's the building blocks to start building some type of family wealth, or at least wealth might be out of the picture, but at least getting financially more stable. They need each other. So a lot of his advice he's giving a lot of these women who are in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, they're telling them, get you a man that makes this kind of money. You're not going to have the same leverage to ask for these things of these men when you didn't help him build it. There's one thing that you get with a man, how it was 50 years ago. People are getting married in their 20s, early 20s, late teens. They build it together. He retires his wife when he can. It's different nowadays where people are waiting to get married in their 30s and then going, I'm in my 30s. I don't want to deal with a man who doesn't make less than this. I need a man who can be 50K. You get with that man with 50K, he's got a prenup ready for you. You get the man who makes 50K. Sorry, not to make 50K. He has 50K to give you to date him. Was what this guy was saying earlier. You get with that guy now. You're competing with a bunch of other women for that guy. You do not help him build that. You're waiting at the finish line saying, I want the top guy. I want the winner. Within a sea of other women who are waiting for that same guy. It's different than you and him got married in your early 20s, late teens, mid 20s, when he was still in college. And y'all were having to eat sandwiches and, bologna sandwiches and eating Vienna sausage and stuff like that. And now he's become an executive. He's become a partner. He's second or third line management. And now he has the financial resources to be able to retire you, put you at home permanently. That's a different bargaining chip than, hey, whoever wins this race, I want you. And other ladies are like, we want him too. Now you got to compete. Y'all is not setting the ladies up to win. He's setting them up to be hopeless. The lady kept asking on the chair, where are these men? Where are these men? Where are these men? They're not where average men are. Okay, where are these men? He had no answers. Bonus children. Women that have children or men who have children being bonus children. That could be the case in some cases. Generally, it's not going to be the case. No matter how much you love your children, no matter how much you think your children bring value to you, you can't then go and say that's the case for somebody else who is dating me. They may not see it the same way for good reason. That's just you. So when y'all is saying bonus children, hey, some children can be bonus. I've heard guys tell testimonies of children that they may have been with a woman who had a child, and that child was a bonus child. They loved the child brought value to their lives, and their character and their nature and how helpful they were and the trajectory they were on. That is possible. But every child ain't a bonus child. It's just not, especially in our communities. We're almost 80% illegitimacy rate. A lot of our kids are not bonus kids. So it takes a real man to raise another man's child. Again, this is that no true Scotsman thing again. It takes a real man to raise another man's child. You're setting up a rubric or metric for what a real man is that you cannot substantiate. What makes that a real man? So you're saying a guy who wouldn't raise another man's child, that's not a real man? I do think that men that can raise other men's kids are to be commended, because when that kid gets that father in the home, it does reduce a lot of the ills of society that could affect us. Higher literacy rates, lower crime rates, lower teen pregnancy rates, lower imprisonment rates, higher financial opportunities and social and financial mobility. All of that's true. But you're not a real man just because you raise them. You can that's where the beat you like a stepchild thing comes into play. You know what I'm saying? There's some men who have stepchildren and are horrible to the stepchildren. So just because somebody does that doesn't make them a good person or a great man. Just because somebody doesn't do it doesn't make them not a great man. That's that no real Scotsman, no true Scotsman fallacy thing again, where it's like, oh, the real is this. If you're not this, then you're not the real. No true Scotsman. You gonna read that out or want me to read it? I can't hear you if you're reading.
Yes, sir. You can read it.
No true Scotsman. You made what could be called an appeal to purity as a way to dismiss relevant criticism or flaws of your argument. Appeal to purity, saying unless it's this, a real man is this. If it's anything less than this, it's not real. In this form of faulty reasoning, one's belief is rendered unfalsifiable because no matter how compelling the evidence is, one simply shifts the goalpost so that it wouldn't apply to a supposedly true example. This kind of post rationalization as a way of avoiding valid criticism of one's argument. So when you say it takes a real man to raise the person's child, somebody goes, well, I wouldn't raise somebody's child. You're not a real man then, because a real man would do this. It's got to be this specifically. That's saying unless you fit this particular criteria in its purity, you don't qualify. An example of it would be Angus declares that Scotsmen do not put sugar on their porridge, to which Lackland points out that he is a Scotsman and puts sugar on his porridge. Furious, like a true Scot, Angus yells that no true Scotsman sugars his porridge. A simple example right there.
Good one.
Where he says nobody would do it, and a guy who's a Scotsman says, I'd do it. And he goes, well, if you were a true Scotsman, you wouldn't do it. So he gets to pick and choose with a Scotsman that's not based off any real metric or rubric. It's just based off of this is what I want. This is what I want the goalpost to be. This is what I want. What composes a Scotsman to be. And if you don't do it, if you're not pure, if you're not exactly this, if you're not a man who would raise a stepchild, you're not a real man.
Man, that's prevalent in our culture. You hear a lot of men in our culture do that. Oh, you're not a man if you do this. I know Dame said that. You're not a man if you use this language.
Daddy Patty.
Yeah, that's the one. Man, this is a good term to know, man. Because we do that a lot in our culture. Actually emasculate men for what our definition of what a man is, you know?
Yeah. If you're not my definition, you're not it at all.
Mm.
How arrogant is that, audience? All the folks out there, how arrogant is that? Just because Yada's using soft terms and endearing terms and saying this beautiful brother right here, which just kind of weirds me out a little bit, but
yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
Just because it's sophistry and flattery, because you wouldn't treat somebody you really believe is a beautiful brother that way. Mm-hmm. I'm going to answer your points. I'm going to address your criticisms. I'm going to be open to your criticisms. I'm going to grapple with the different ideas that you have and try my best to reconcile them with what I believe to be true. And if I can't do it, I may have to either disagree with you or say that, hey, look, I got to give up my belief on that because I can't reconcile the two.
Man.
Yada's giving platitudes and sophistry and flattery, but is he really treating that Anton as a beautiful brother? I don't see it.
Wow.
Don't see it at all. So that's my points on those. Anything else you know?
I think you covered that pretty well.
Did you already show Tony Allen on there?
Tony Allen? No, I didn't get Tony Allen.
Oh, okay.
I forgot the Tony Allen. All right, let's get into it.
With children.
Okay.
I'm not biased on this. I'm consistent across the board. I don't think that it's in a one. Could she possibly marry a good guy? Could a guy possibly marry a good woman? Absolutely. But I would never advise it because I would never tell somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself. I'm consistent in that. And let me correct them for a minute.
Please.
Nobody said or your people and not.
Okay, so are you telling people they should be in relationships even though it's toxic just because of the child?
I never said that.
So when should they part ways?
I don't think that they should have got it together in the first place because you know who a
If
person.
we're already there, brother. If we're already there.
I specifically said no. I don't address if we already there.
Right.
I address.
This is what we're talking about. We're talking to adults,
I address.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, you have to take ownership and responsibility for it. I don't believe that people are getting finessed like you painted the picture. I believe because that's to say that women aren't smart. Because how did you get so smart afterwards, but you wasn't smart enough to be able to identify that he was a POS when you got with him? That's literally telling y'all that y'all idiots. You're not an idiot. You're not dumb. Most women know who the dude is that they got with and who they chased before they got with him and opened up their legs to him. You know that. That's why they say get married before you carry. That's why they say that.
So listen to me, ladies. If you're in a relationship with a man, you're pregnant, or if you have children by this man, and this man is not being a man in your life, leave him. If this man is breaking you down mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, leave him and make sure he gets himself together. And if he can't get himself together to keep you in his life, that's not the man for you. Leave. I don't care what this brother talking about. That makes no sense, and it's devilish. It's too many women being killed by toxic men because they want to stay for emotional reasons of the children. Think about yourself, because you can't properly protect your child if you're being abused on any type of level, if you're not being provided for on any type of level. Love yourself enough to know when to leave. If not, you will pour this childhood trauma onto your child.
We use
And she's stable on each and every level. A woman will never walk away from a man where she feels secure on each and every level. His man stepped out of a fantasy.
Look, extremes. It's because you feel a certain type of way about
Ladies. If you feel unsafe, if this man is not leading you to the best version of yourself, if he's not being that guide, that leader, and that protector, leave that man. I don't care about no form of fantasies, period. And men, if you're doing everything you know to do for your woman, to keep her happy, to love her, to protect her and guide her, and she's still doing things that you don't recommend, or she's going out there doing things she has no business doing, leave that woman. If not, your children will reap the hurt and the pain of that cycle. We have to break these generational curses. We have to.
This man is going to have y'all jacked up. He going to have y'all absolutely toe up. He going to ruin your life. He going to ruin your child's life. He going to ruin your family's life. Take this and really replay it and pay attention to what. Because
real quick.
I got a question. The final question.
Real quick. No woman left after the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, the sixth time. They don't pray to God, got on their knees, talk to the pastor. These women ain't just leaving these men. They are mostly invested to them, loved them, gave them the body. They're tired. They're mentally falling apart. They're suffering from depression. And we're going to say, oh, stay there for the children. She's crying every night. Every night she's crying. But we want to put everything on the woman rather than, oh, keep your legs closed. This woman loved this man with her all, her mind, her body, and her soul. This is why she left. She sacrificed everything for this man, and he still has not changed. I would rather you leave a man than to your child to watch you cry every night because this man's verbally mistreating you, not properly taking care of you and treating you like you're trash. Ladies, you're not a doormat. You're not under a man. You're side by side with a man. If any man treats you like that, you know he's dealing with some deep-rooted childhood traumas.
It is a red flag if a woman is, let's say, 35 plus.
You can pause it.
And single.
It's crazy because it's hard to even just keep in the smile when you're watching that kind of video. Man.
You know who Yada reminds me of, that when females have male friends and they just do that emotional dump on them about the guys they date.
He's the male friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely that one that be like, girl, you don't need him, girl.
Yeah.
So he's talking about himself. Somebody could treat you way better than that.
Yes, man. Yes. And he contradicted himself because he said when a man is fully in his purpose, a woman will naturally be submissive. Then he tells the guy, if you're doing everything in your power to lead the woman or please the woman, you should leave if she's not abiding by your rules or. But yeah,
I didn't catch that, but that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch that. Yeah, it's this guy right here is the capital of internet trolls.
All caps.
That pander to women for sure. It's pretty insane. It's almost like a sight to behold. But I was to cover some other things he says. A woman will never leave a man who's doing what he has to do or whatever he said. We just know that's not true. We know it's not. Women are women are filing 80%, 70, 80, 90% of the divorces, depending upon different demographics. It's not 70, 80, 90% of men who are doing all that stuff. Most of these marriages, they have to file while they're divorcing.
Yeah.
There's not 70, 80, 90% abuse. And even if you say, well, they're not always reporting it, it's not going to equal to 70, 80, 90%. I keep referencing Dr. Cheyenne Bryant saying it, but there's women all around, people all around that have said, hey, I had a great husband. I ruined it. I was too young. Had trauma, whatever it was. I messed up a good situation. All ladies that know they've been around men who were great to them and they walked away. Maybe he was too nice. Maybe they felt like he was a pushover. Maybe they wanted somebody who's more attractive or more of a challenge for them. But they left these men. So he's saying women wouldn't leave a man. It's not true. This guy's at a step with the research that's available about why women like bad boys. There's a lot of research coming out, like Dr. David Buzz. You got so many people that have been doing research on this stuff. People got to realize on the internet, all the folks out there, one of the most studied topics in the world is reproduction. That includes mating, that includes coupling, that includes the different things that we look for in mate selection. All of that stuff is very well researched. Women tend to like the bad boys, and there's reasons why they tend to do. They tend to want, that's how they view, that's how they pick the best genes. The man who's a risk taker, a little bit more symmetrical features, taller, broader shoulders, more, considered being more masculine. That's what they want to have their children with. Then they want to find the guy who's the better long-term partner. So they've done a lot of research on this stuff. Women will leave good men, stable men. You got the dual mating strategy. There's something called the dual mating strategy. There's things y'all can look up. Ladies, I encourage y'all to, as y'all are getting educated and being the most enrolled in college nowadays, spend some time looking up this information here as well. Because this guy is painting a picture that is not accurate to reality. What he's saying is not completely untrue. It definitely does happen, but not nowhere near the extent to which he's saying it does. So whenever leaving a man who's a good man or fulfilling her desires, all you gotta do is type in YouTube and there's countless women saying I left for this reason, that reason, and this reason, and that reason. A woman's feelings. We've got to stop using women's feelings as some type of arbiter of truth. Most women will tell you they know their feelings are going to deceive them. Women are on a hormonal cycle. I've had ladies tell me it's difficult. James, you would never know. Vulcan, you would never know what it's like to be on this hormonal cycle. Our feelings are like real things to us at different points and times in the month. I get it. And I wouldn't judge them as harshly for that because I'm not a woman. But one thing I can say is we're not going to use feelings as some type of measurement for truth. We're not going to do that.
Absolutely, for sure.
Just because, but somebody could be like a man or woman can be like, yeah, I just feel this. Okay, you feel that way. Now, I appreciate you sharing how you felt about it. Now, what do you think about it? Let's hear both. We're not going to dismiss feelings.
Yeah.
And that's why we got to stop this narrative. You hear this, people saying all feelings are valid. No, valid means logical.
Oh, okay.
Look it up. Google it.
All right.
If you could put valid up, I would appreciate that. But those of y'all on there, Google it. Look it up. Valid has to do with something being logical, something where the premises and conclusions go together. The premise and the conclusion line up. It's valid. Doesn't mean it's true. Just means it's valid. Feelings aren't valid or invalid. Feelings are feelings. Feelings just are descriptions of our state of emotional state at the time. It could be a poor reflection of what the reality is. It could be a great reflection of the reality is. I've had times where my feelings inform my intellect and times where my intellect inform my feelings and said, hey, look, you're tripping right now. You feel slighted, but really they're looking out for you. Have you ever experienced that before, Enos?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get to this definition.
Yeah, women are no different. Their feelings can. Sorry, here.
Yeah, valid, man. It said based on truth and reason, able to be accepted. That's wild, man.
So what happens is people are saying, oh, emotions or feelings are valid. Wow. They're borrowing more concrete, resolute language to try to give feelings a higher place on the truth meter than they actually belong. They're not that high. Feelings have a place. People should have a place where they can express their feelings. We shouldn't suppress our feelings for the most part. Sometimes we need to suppress our feelings temporarily, but we should always have outlets and ways to get our feelings out there. But to use the word valid is to use the wrong type of word when dealing with feelings. Feelings and valid don't belong in the same universe. Feelings should not be dismissed. Feelings should be explored. That's all fair.
Okay.
Feelings should be heard and listened to for the most part. Every feeling you have shouldn't be expressed all the time. It's going to just cause confusion. Most men understand that. I had a friend of mine tell me a story of a time where a lady mentioned, like, tell me the truth. And the man told the lady the truth, and the lady started crying and said, why would you say that? Tell the truth. And man,
she started crying.
Started crying. And that young man learned right then and there, just because somebody says they want to know my feelings don't mean they really want to know my feelings.
Wow.
So we gotta recognize that feelings are important. We're humans. We all have feelings. We all have emotions. That's why when they're saying this on the show, they're like, don't be emotional, brother. Don't get emotional. Nothing wrong with getting emotional. Typically, we only say that when people are being expressing the more negative emotions.
Yeah.
Like anger, sadness. But if somebody's being jubilant and jovial, then we don't be like, hey, you're being emotional over there. Yeah, emotions aren't bad. Nothing wrong with being emotional. We must have our emotions in control.
Yeah.
And when our emotions are out of control, we got to make sure those emotions don't hurt others. We don't abuse others in our hurt. Hurt people. Misery loves company. So we got to be mindful in those situations. But nothing wrong with having emotions. Nothing wrong with having feelings. Nothing wrong with expressing your feelings and your emotions. As long as you're not going to hurt other people while you're doing it. So I want people to understand that part as well. But yeah, feelings are not valid. Women's feelings are not valid. That's a complete. You wouldn't. It's like saying the color purple is 2, or the color yellow is warm or cold. That description has nothing to do with colors, the temperature of them. Just like saying feelings are valid. That is, those two don't go together. Category errors. No woman left after the first time.
Or the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time.
Again, this is just sophistry. Hyperbole at best, and at worst, it's sophistry. Ladies, men know and women know, if they tell you things that you want to hear, you'll part with your money. But don't be deceived.
What's the phrase? What was the phrase? Women fall in love with what they hear.
Yeah, women fall in love with what they hear, and what men fall in love with what they see.
Yeah,
that's why men lie and don't know where makeup and weave and eyelashes and all that kind of stuff.
And you said earlier when your friend told that young lady the truth, she started crying. So it suggests that she rather people lie to her than
Yeah, that could suggest that.
Good suggestion.
So yeah, so that we're done with this video, or we got a little bit more. We got 2 more minutes left. Let's go and wrap this up.
Yeah, I think that's it. Let's wrap it up. I was going to rewind the part when he said men should leave if they're doing everything right.
With a man, if any man treats you like that, you know he's dealing with some deep-rooted. With a child to watch you cry every night because this man's verbally mistreating you, not properly taking care of you and treating you like you're trash. Ladies, you're not a doormat. You're not under a man. You're side by side with a man. If any man on the woman rather than, keep your legs closed. This woman loved this man with her all, her mind, her body, and her soul. This is why she left. She sacrificed everything for this man, and he still has not change. I would rather you leave a man than to your child to watch you cry every night because this man's verbally mistreating you, not properly taking care of you and treating you like you're trash. Ladies, you're not a doormat. You're not under a man. You're side by side with a man. If any man treats you like that, you know he's dealing with some deep-rooted childhood traumas.
Yeah,
It is a red flag. If a woman is, let's say, 35 plus and single, is that a red flag?
No. 35 alone as just a red flag. I don't look at that.
Yada, what's your thoughts on that question, brother?
I agree. I agree completely with the brother. The only thing that I disagree with is him saying if the woman is over the age of 35 with children. You know, some women have given men their youth and been married 20 plus years, and the relationship just didn't work, and they parted ways, some peacefully, some toxic. But I believe that woman is in a place of healing. So I think all women, regardless of the age, if they're single and working on themselves, I don't see that as a red flag. And like my brother said, I believe that we all have red flags, and we should really get with people that can deal with that red flag.
There you have it. Honestly, man, you know,
that's it.
Again, I think
still want to find
a lot
that
of
part.
overlay and overlap.
On each and every level. His man stepped out of a fantasy.
Look, extreme.
Ladies. Unsafe. If this man is not leading that guide, that leader, and that protects, period. And men, if you're doing everything you know to do for your woman to keep her happy, to love her, to protect her and guide her, and she's still doing things that you don't recommend, or she's going out there doing things she has no business doing, leave that woman. If not, your children will.
Yeah, that was the part right there. But yeah, that's the end of the video. That's all of it. Anything else you want to cover?
Yeah, I just want to speak to the audience here, y'all. We appreciate y'all checking us out. I realized my head was cut off. But yeah, we appreciate y'all checking us out today. We covered a lot of good material. I like the first part more than the second part, probably.
Yeah,
but I will say that all of this stuff is helpful. You know, I'm hard pressed to find somebody that I've found to be more capped than Yada here. This is pretty bad.
Wow.
As far as on this topic, there's people that are capped in other areas, but when it comes to this topic, this guy is just out of there. But all of y'all, please support our work. Our work is, of course, when I would look online and look at people who are talking about critical thinking skills and how to think properly, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like us on there. Didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I thought we need to occupy this space because people don't know how to think critically and logically. Those who are naturally more inclined to do it don't have the tools and the resources. I've had friends who are pretty smart guys, pretty sharp people, you know, had a pretty good gift of discernment naturally, but they didn't know the terminology. You know what things were called. They didn't know, hey, when somebody's doing this, what is that called? So I don't like when that person does that. They didn't know what it was called. What is that called when that person does that? We don't learn these things. And if you don't know the name of it, it's hard to be able to pin it down and to learn from it and to be able to recognize it easier and teach others.
Yeah.
So part of the purpose of this show is so that when you listen to people communicating, whether it's Dr. Umar Johnson, Tariq Nasheed, or you're listening to these health gurus talking about being vegan, or you're listening to Yada and Anton, or whoever else that comes on, Jordan Peterson and Michael Eric Dyson, and all these different intellectuals you hear speak, Ben Shapiro and other people like that.
Thought leaders.
How do you decipher? Thought leaders. How do you decide what arguments they make, what points they make are sound and well researched and internally consistent, and which ones are just sophistry and pandering and using rhetoric, high level rhetoric skills? You have to be able to figure those things out to arm yourself and arm your children, arm those you care about and love. So that's the purpose of this show. That's our heart. That's what they do this for. It's not about nitpicking people. It's not about just exposing people and trying to get people that hate certain individuals or love other individuals. This is about, no matter who it is, from our favorite people to the people we like the least, we want to be able to look at what they're saying and judge it logically, fairly, for everybody's benefit. And it's not just about intellectuals, but it's a moral thing as well. Anything else he knows?
I would like to say we're here to empower. And this is what the purpose of the platform, just to help you be able to point out certain things that it's always doing this, it's lagging. But yeah, that's all I want to say is we're here to help out, give y'all certain
Soapbox.
mechanisms, some tools, man. So appreciate you joining, appreciate y'all tuning in. But remember to subscribe, remember to share the video and like the video as well, and share it to all your social media platforms, man.
You want to be on the show? No, email us, message us. We gotta start putting our information on. We don't ever have our information up here.
Yes.
Email, phone number, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I gotta start doing that.
Yeah.
All righty.
Bye. Cool. Everybody, we're out.
All right.